recording, but you're welcome to start early. Okay. Oh, there we are. We're live. Now, let me just check. Hi, everybody. We're a little late. If anybody is still watching, it's now 9:35. Let me check and make sure we're on Facebook. I will go to my Facebook page and try to make sure we're on Facebook. Let's see. Um, oh, wait a minute. I don't know what I'm doing now. Wait a minute.
Maybe we just talk to each other and then just post it later on.
There we are. We're on Facebook. We're on Facebook. And I want to make sure we're on Twitter as well, um, so that everybody can see us if there's still anybody looking for us at this point. And,
No,
and
bye-bye.
there we are. We're on Twitter as well. And so let me delete this old one. And there we are. We're live on Twitter as well. So here we are, everybody. It's Dan Cerrucci and Christine Flowers. And Christine, it's been so long since we chatted.
I know. We were going to do this more regularly, especially in the election season. So I don't know
Well,
if the technical problems that we're having are an omen here for the election, but
we
it's so good to
no, it's
talk
not an
together.
omen for the election, and we should do it more regularly. We definitely should.
Once a
Um,
month at least.
oh, I would love that. I think that would be a wonderful idea. But I'm going to go over something that I just put up on my blog, and I'm going to see if we'll see if you agree with these statements that I made.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, there I am in a bigger screen. No, I'm going to go back to the smaller screen. Okay, on these statements that I made, I said these are 10 things that you need to know right now. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
here's number one. Barring some cataclysmic event, it's simply going to be Trump versus Biden.
And that is the cataclysmic event.
That is the cataclysmic event.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it the most? Is it the most unpleasant um, presidential decision you've ever had to make? The most unpleasant presidential matchup we've ever had, Christine.
Danny, it's so horrifically horrible. I have no words for it. I mean, it's like if you took Michael Dukakis and ran him against Dan Quayle, and then and and then neither of those guys could run, and they were replaced in the month before the election by Hillary and Kamala, and or Hillary and Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert. That's what we have right now. It's a rhymes with twit show. It is horrible. And I know there are a lot of people who are our friends who are very strong Trump supporters. Come hell or high water, they love the man. And I know that we have a few friends who are also Biden supporters, much fewer, but there are people who actually will choose Biden. I am in neither camp. I was watching earlier tonight old YouTube video of Sarah Palin accepting the VP nomination back in 2008. This is what I'm doing, Dan. I'm so disgusted. I don't
I
want to
don't know
see what's
why you're
happening
doing that,
now.
Christine. Look, you're going to have to make a decision, Christine, when the time comes. You're
I
going to have
don't
to
have to
make a
vote for
decision.
either of them,
So,
Dan. I
but
do not.
here's
I do
number
not.
two. All right, look, I don't want to. I went down that road with two friends over dinner last night. By the way, we had a lovely dinner at a new place here in Cherry Hill called uh, Eddie V's. It's a steak and seafood place, and it's
Ooh.
fantastic.
That sounds
Yeah,
nice.
it's really it's an upscale. It's like a New York supper club inside. It's
But
really beautiful.
but I want
And
to take you and Carol to a place in Bryn Mawr that I was at last night called Auto by Polpo, which is an Italian
oh,
restaurant that you would die for. The
oh
two of
my
you. It's in
goodness.
Bryn Mawr. It's near the train. So we'll talk about our social schedule later on. But yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
let's go. Okay, here's number two. Here's number two. Biden is a beat up old street fighter. He's also vindictive and stubborn. He spent his whole life getting where he is, and he's left a lot of flotsam and jetsam in his wake. He will not step aside.
Oh, totally agree.
You
No,
agree?
I mean he's where he's always wanted to be. He is absolutely not going to step aside. I don't know who thinks Biden. I mean, the thing I will tell you something. The thing that connects Biden and Trump is that they're both narcissists. They are not going to put country first. They are putting their own political interests or whatever interests first. So Biden will absolutely not surrender this last hurrah. Do you
Uh
remember the
huh.
old movie with Spencer Tracy, The
Oh,
Last
yeah.
Hurrah?
Yeah. Oh,
It's very
yeah.
much like that. If you married it to All the King's Men, the old, Huey
Right.
Long kind of
Right.
fictionalized account. This is what we have here. And Biden is exactly how you described him. He's vindictive. He's a mean spirited cur.
Is there
Um,
anything worse than a stubborn old Irishman?
yeah, and I grew up around a bunch of them, and they can be they can be problematic. Old Italians, they're stubborn, but they're. I will tell you, they could be vindictive, obviously,
Oh, yes.
because
Yes. Of course.
Omerta and all that stuff, the Godfather
Yes.
and everything. But there's something, and I'm talking about half of my heritage here. I am half Irish. They are. You do not want to cross an old Irish man with a grudge. You do not want to do that.
Here you go. Now, stubborn old Italian people can be stubborn, but I don't think they lose their joie de vivre. Okay,
Uh-uh.
uh,
They're
they
not bitter. They're
nor
not bitter.
yeah, but okay. Here's number three. We've got to move along. Jill Biden is also all in for another 4 years in the White House. She too sacrificed all and is every bit as scheming as her husband. She'll urge him on no matter what.
She's Lady Macbeth wearing slip covers on the sofa. I mean, have you seen the dresses that this woman wears? They literally look like my grandmother's slip covers, the things that were underneath the plastic on top of the sofa. She
Where
is,
does she get those outfits?
I have no idea. The old Woolworths basement used to have throw pillows that were that they were upholstered in her clothes. Her
Now,
clothing is just so bad. As an
I thought
aside,
she was sneaking into Western Pennsylvania and buying draperies at Boscov's.
draperies. That's it, Danny. That's it. Draperies. And I love that you use the word draperies because nobody says that anymore. They say curtains, but draperies, that's exactly what it is. Those real thick polyester fiberglass draperies. They're just disgusting. But anyway, and as an aside, she's been on the cover of Vogue, whatever, like 3 times and Harper's Bazaar. And I am looking at this and I'm saying, this woman is an embarrassment, a disgrace. And they didn't put Melania Trump once on the cover of any of these high fashion magazines, which shows not that they're blind, not that Anna Wintour, queen of Vogue, is blind.
Oh,
They
I
are
can't stand that
political
woman. Yeah.
shills. But yeah,
Okay.
no, Jill is Lady Macbeth. She's
Okay.
she's
Okay.
Lady Macbeth. Only her
No.
Macbeth is like he's like a blow up doll. There's nothing there anymore. He's
No,
vindictive,
I don't
but
think
he's
there's very
stupid
much
and
there.
vindictive.
I don't think there's very much there. No, no.
But he's a
He,
vindictive. There's nothing
no,
worse than a
he's
stupid,
very,
vindictive old man.
yeah. Now, number four, Donald Trump isn't going to change. Handlers don't know what to do with him because he's simply not handleable. Love him or hate him, he's real. Easily the most authentic president we've had in 70 years or more. Deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I am completely soured on Donald Trump, but I will say he's authentic. You get what you get. That mouth opens up. There's no filter, and I mean, this is what people voted for. They like the fact that he's not a he's not the establishment. I mean, he was when he became president, but he's not um he's not presented in shrink wrap, and he's not predictable, unlike what a lot of his critics say. I think he's very unpredictable. um i
Yeah.
i I also.
Don't, don't you think this is why other countries didn't F around with him, including like China, Russia, and Korea, because they couldn't predict what he could do. They were afraid of what might happen because they just couldn't predict. Nobody could tell them, well, this is how he's likely to act.
Yeah, but Danny, we're gonna, I mean, when you say F around with him, there also was very, very little allyship. And I was very upset. And this has upset a lot of my conservative friends who've called me a rhino, which, whatever, I don't care. But I'm somebody, I guess they would call a globalist, somebody who really cares about our standing in the world and our interrelationships with other countries, our allies. I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm really turned off by a lot of the things that he has said quite recently, with respect to the NATO allies. Because listen, yeah, they have to pay their way, they have to pay more, but the only time that Article 5 was invoked, Article 5 being the article that requires, that mandates that all NATO members have to come to the aid of an ally who has been attacked. The only time that that was invoked was after 9/11 to protect the
Right.
United States. And people were saying, well, those other countries didn't have enough materiel, and them helping us wasn't going to be worthwhile. Australia came to our aid, Canada, they all stood in solidarity. So I get really pissed off when I hear Trump like poking the bull and saying, well, you didn't pay up, so we're going to let somebody come in and just attack you, especially at a time when Putin is killing people like Navalny, which is another thing that pisses me off. I haven't heard one thing from Donald Trump criticizing what happened to Navalny, except to say,
Right.
oh, it's just like me when the leftists are attacking me, and so I see what happens in that kind of a totalitarian society. I'm like, really? That's what you get from that?
So something
Anyway.
about the America first, America first, America first doesn't totally square with you when you look at the broader world and our responsibilities to the rest of the world.
But it never did, Dan. It never did with conservatives, with Republicans. Reagan was not an America first. Reagan was an America best. Reagan was a shining city on a hill. John
Right.
Paul, Thatcher, they were a team. They weren't about America alone. They were about Western democracy and the supremacy of the Western world. And what I see
Okay.
now is this very narrowing, small view of America as we're great, we're wonderful, and to hell with the rest of the world. That
So you're saying
upsets me.
if we're so great and we're so wonderful and we're so exceptional, then we would have recognized this responsibility that we have to the rest of the world. Otherwise, the two things don't seem to mesh. We're great, we're wonderful, we're exceptional, nobody's like us, uh, but we don't want any parts of you.
Exactly. And listen, I can't stand Democrats. I cannot stand Democrats. Every
Right.
sinew of my body and soul rails against what they stand for. I don't like to be in solidarity with Democrats. And I find myself tragically agreeing with a lot of what they're saying about our foreign involvement in Ukraine with respect to what's happening, worries about China, Iran. I'm sorry. I'm angry at the Republicans right now for making me feel uncomfortable in my own party, in my own house. And
Yeah, but Christine, you've always been a bit of an iconoclast, no matter what group you're a part of, haven't you? I mean, when you were a Democrat, you weren't particularly happy there either. And I
oh no,
think
I was
for
very unhappy. In fact, I only stayed a Democrat to screw with the minds of the Democrats, to upset them. Because I mean, how can you be a decent moral human being and remain a Democrat? How
I
can
don't
you be
know.
that? You can't. You cannot be a decent moral human being. I don't care who's watching this and is saying, hey,
Yeah,
Christine. You can't, because abortion is the prime sacrament for Democrats. And so I do
yeah,
find a lot about what the Democrats are saying about human rights and immigrants' rights, and all this stuff. They're full of crapule, as the French would call it, which sounds exactly like the word in English, CRAPULE, because they don't care about human rights. They don't care about unborn human life. I have nothing but disdain and disgust, especially for the male feminists out there who dare to
oh,
lecture me on
the
my
new man.
rights.
Yeah. Okay. Here's number 5.
Okay.
Trump's success this time around may depend on key groups of people being able to make this distinction. You can dislike his personality and even consider him obnoxious, but still admire his accomplishments last time around. For example, peace, prosperity, strength, and resolve, and want that back again, especially in contrast to where we are now. This is not a crazy or radical notion, it's common sense.
No, you make a lot of sense. Can I vote for you, Dan? Please. Can you run for office?
I
And I'd love
find
to
that
have Carol
more
as first lady.
mature, older voters can make this distinction. I spoke to a woman the other day who's in my age group, and I said, "What do you think of Trump?" She said, "Oh my God, he's obnoxious. I can't stand him, but I'm probably going to vote for him again." She said. I
And the
said,
thing is,
"Why?" I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, he was doing a better job. He was doing a better job for the country. Things were better under him."
well, you know, Trump's personality never put me off, to be honest. I grew up around people like that. There was a generation of men. There were a generation of men who were kind of like, swinging it around. They were the big guys in the room, lots of testosterone. And so it didn't appeal to me, but it didn't repel me. And I'm not going to vote for someone because of their personality. I'm going to vote for them because of their policies and their politics. And that's why I voted for Donald Trump 2 times. I voted for him in 2016 and I voted for him in 2020. And to be honest, even after everything I've said, I wish he were. I wish he had won in 2020. I think the United States made a
Right,
huge mistake in picking Joe Biden.
right.
Although I do believe that they did pick him. I'm not one of those. I don't believe that Donald Trump actually won the last election. I think that there were problems with the election, but I don't believe he won. I wish he
Uh-huh.
had. I wish he had. I'm sorry though. I can no longer. Um, I just I can't see him as my president again. I'm an immigration lawyer, I do a lot of asylum work. He's going to put Stephen Miller back in the position of authority, and Stephen Miller is a dangerous. I will say this: Stephen Miller is a bigot, and I do not want
Mhm.
someone like that in a position to influence immigration policy. Um, I don't truly believe that. I love the fact that Trump presided over the overturning of Roe versus Wade because of what he did with the Supreme Court, and I will forever be
Amazing.
grateful. But I don't
Three
think he is
justices.
essentially pro-life.
3 justices in 4 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was also fortunate that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was stupid enough and narcissistic enough and egotistical enough to hold on as long as she possibly could, and then bye bye Ruthie. And he had a chance to get
She
Amy Coney
loved the
Barrett.
limelight. Loved
That's
the
it.
limelight.
She loved being the notorious RBG.
Yeah.
I have all these people who are friends of mine, and they're like, "Oh, wasn't she great? Women's rights." No, I frankly don't think so. I think she became so enamored of her legend,
Yeah.
and if you read some of her opinions, they're not particularly exceptional. Her real work,
Yeah.
her true value, Dan,
Yeah.
was when she was a litigator, when she would
Yeah.
litigate cases before the
Yes.
Supreme Court. She was
Yeah.
exceptional. But beyond that,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But
I think Sandra
Christine,
Day
yeah.
O'Connor was a better justice.
Oh, she was a wonderful justice, and I got to meet her and chat with her.
Oh, wow.
I was in the Supreme Court and in the private chambers of the late Justice William J. Brennan from New Jersey. And
Wow.
yeah, I got to be with him in his personal chambers where he chatted about South Jersey and remembered all of the places in South Jersey and the towns because he's from New Jersey, but he was actually from North Jersey, but he knew
Yeah.
New Jersey very well. And I also got to meet Justice Scalia, Justice
Mm.
O'Connor, Justice Rehnquist, Justice Blackmun, and
Did you meet Justice White, Whizzer White?
and Justice Ginsburg.
Oh,
I met all of them, all of those.
was that when
Yes.
they came to the Bar Association events?
Yes. Or we went to the Supreme Court for installation ceremonies for lawyers to be sworn in front of the Supreme Court. And so
Wow.
and various events, and when they came to Philadelphia, and so I met all those justices, and I have to say that Justice O'Connor was very authentic, very real, very genuine. She was very down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Justice Ginsburg was a bit haughty.
Yeah,
Uh,
you get that
Chief,
idea.
yeah, I met Chief Justice Rehnquist. I really couldn't get a read on him. Are you still there? It looks like you disappeared. Oh, there you are. Okay. Okay, there you are. I
Hmm.
thought you disappeared for a moment. So, just obviously, Justice Scalia was wonderful.
He's the only one I met, and I couldn't get a word
Oh,
out other than
amazing,
"I
amazing
admire
man.
you so much," and then it's like,
Yes.
you know.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
here's number 6. Nikki Haley's campaign is effectively over. Those who are still encouraging her seem to be largely motivated by hate, an
Yes.
obstinate hatred of Donald Trump and his followers. This is not a pretty sight, nor is it in any way admirable.
100%. I think of all of the things you've written so far, this is the one that I most agree with. I initially was looking at Nikki. I really admired her when she was the UN ambassador. I
Mhm.
thought I loved her speaking truth to power. I loved her, what I thought was her kick ass attitude. Um, she took no prisoners. But I think she's just morphed into, ironically enough, and you'll disagree with me because I know you're good buddies with him and you love him, but I think he is the female version of Chris Christie. I think she exists to simply defenestrate Trump, that she exists to basically undermine him,
Yeah.
that there's no there, that which is really pissing me off. She's now playing the girl card, which she was always supposed to be, this strong, I don't want to say asexual.
Right.
Gender was not important. She was strong. And now it's like, oh, and I can do this in high heels and this and that. And I'm like, lady,
Right.
shut up. We don't care that you have ovaries, for God's sake.
See, that's a card that Margaret Thatcher never played.
Yes, never.
She was
Indira Gandhi and
no,
Golda Meir didn't play it either.
no, no, no. Golda Meir would just light up another cigarette,
Yep.
and Margaret Thatcher, and they were just right in there with the guys,
Yeah.
and
You know who
and
else didn't play
nobody.
that? Dan, you know who else didn't play that? Benazir Bhutto. Benazir Bhutto was the
Okay.
first female prime minister of Pakistan, a
Uh-huh.
Muslim woman, strong as nails. She was assassinated because of this. But there are women out there who can do this.
Oh
And
yeah.
Nikki is playing into the female. Oh, I am woman. Hear me roar. She persisted. Shut up.
Okay, here's number 7. Trump has a good choice of talent to choose from for his vice presidential nominee. The pick will be very important, but given those he's already cited on his list, he seems to be headed in the right direction, and that bodes well for the country.
I don't know who he cited on his list. Can you give
Well,
me
he
some
has
names?
cited Tim Scott. He has cited the governor of, I guess it is Idaho, South Dakota, or Idaho. Is it
Oh,
Idaho?
not
Governor
Christy Nome. Not
Christine
Christy
Nome.
Nome.
Christine Nome. Okay, you don't like her.
No, no.
And who
I
else
like
was
Tim
on?
Scott.
I like Tim Scott a lot too. I
I like.
really do.
He's a good guy.
Um, but he had, I don't remember all the names. They're not coming to me now, the short list that Trump cited. Um, uh, uh, Obviously, Nikki Haley is no longer on it. Um,
If she ever was.
some people, although I don't think she's been in office yet, some people have said Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I do like her,
I love
but
her.
I don't
Yeah.
think she's been in office long enough.
I
Okay.
I I I I think she is much more viable than Christy Nome.
Christy
I
Nome, yeah.
I think that she's who I also like Marsha Blackburn, Senator
I
Marsha
love Marcia
Blackburn.
Blackburn, but she's not on the list. The other one that's on the list is the congresswoman from New York, who's the whip, um,
Elise Stefanik.
Elise Stefanik.
I
Yeah.
used to like her a lot. Now I'm she seems to be parroting too much of what Trump is saying. I thought she was more of an independent, and so I'm not a huge fan of that list. Tim Scott. I love
Tim
Tim
Scott.
Scott.
I
Yeah.
would tend to agree with you. Or of that list, Tim Scott, definitely. Here's number 8. Biden is stuck with Kamala. End of story.
I think so because she's a black woman. But some people were saying this morning there was a suggestion that he might go with Susan Rice because she was originally, and she's also a black woman, she was originally on the list before he picked Kamala. And I don't
Hmm.
know what the reasoning was for Kamala. I know a lot of people didn't want him to pick Kamala because, especially Jill was pushing against Kamala because of the way that she basically called him a racist. I thought that was a very weak move on his part to pick Kamala. But I mean, yeah, he probably will have to keep her. It would be, I mean, why? What excuse would he have for getting rid of her? He can't say people hate you. He can't. I mean, he's kind of
He
stuck.
yeah. Maybe he didn't pick Susan Rice because she was so closely tied to Obama. You see,
Yes,
and
that's a good point.
that I think that worked against her. Number 9. There's only 10, so we're almost done. Number 9. McConnell, McCarthy, McDaniel, they're all gone. Has nothing to do with them being McConnell, McCarthy, McDaniel, but it's just
And Irish.
a nice alliteration to it. They're all gone. It's a massive shift, and it happened relatively quickly. A new team is in charge, or soon will be. It's Trump's Republican Party now. Nothing new about that. To the winner belong the spoils. If you can't accept that, you're not just a sore loser, but you're in the way.
Yeah, that's why many people are going to be leaving the Republican Party because they don't feel, and I am really honest here. I'm not a never Trumper. I've never been a never Trumper, Dan. Right now, I am a not now Trumper. And I would say I resent the fact that the people that are now in positions of authority are not what I would consider really smart individuals. Um, I, for example, when Mike Johnson became Speaker of the House, I truly thought, because he's a long time conservative, I really thought that he would have a little bit of heft and speak to his caucus and try and get some kind of consensus whereby they were going to, for example, with the immigration bill. I read that bill, Dan. 30 years of immigration law, in immigration practice. I can tell you that bill was a gift to Republicans. That bill was
Mm,
being pushed back against by so many Democrats and liberals. All of my liberal colleagues in the immigration bar hated it because it gutted the asylum system. But somehow they were able to pick out little things and misrepresent the fact that 5,000 illegals are going to be allowed in every day. That is not what the bill said. I read most of it. So I would have thought that conservatives would have been able to actually score a win here and be the ones who solve the problem at the border. But they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Mike Johnson was not effective. Mitch McConnell, as Senate Majority Leader, would have been able to do this because he did so much, because he had the institutional heft. I'm not that taken with Jim Jordan. I can't stand Matt Gaetz, cannot stand Matt Gaetz. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a smart woman. Lauren Boebert is a stupid chick. So I'm looking for, where are the people of substance? Throw me a name, Dan, that you believe is actually competent in a position of authority. Who? So, I mean,
yeah,
I get what you're saying. To
yeah.
the victor go the spoils. And for whatever reason,
It's
they're all
Trump's
hitching their
party.
wagon to Donald Trump. But who do you think is really an effective politician there?
Who's really effective?
Well, who's
I
smart?
I'm
Who's
I'm not I think the verdict is still out on Mike Johnson. Um I think I sort of like him. And I
I
also
do
think,
too. That's why I'm disappointed.
yeah, and I also think that the three guys that are vying to be Senate leader, um to take over McConnell's place. They call them the three Johns: John Barrasso, John Toon, and there's another one. I think those three guys are all quite responsible and capable of doing the job. Uh, this leads me to number 10, which is the Republican bench is for the most part strong, talented, younger than the Democrat bench. Should he win, Trump has lots of talent to choose from for his cabinet and other posts. Like, for example, you mentioned the senator from Tennessee, Marcia Blackburn. She's phenomenal.
I love her. I
She's
love her.
phenomenal.
I wish we
And
could
and what
clone
about
her.
and
I
what
love
about
Jody Ernst. I love there are some
Jody
really
Ernst? Why isn't she being considered for vice president?
exactly. I
And what about
mean,
Senator Tom Cotton? I like
love
him.
him.
Isn't
Love
he
Tom Cotton.
amazing?
He's
What
amazing.
about the senator from Missouri, the
Oh,
new
Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley?
Love him too. Love Josh Hawley.
Okay. I mean, this is a good,
In the
strong
Senate.
bench.
So what you're
What
talking
about
about,
J.D. Vance from Ohio? J.D. Vance.
yeah, yeah. But who are you giving me right now? Senators. I agree. I actually like the Republican bench in the Senate. I absolutely do. I think that the House of Representatives is full of mediocre messes. I have no respect for 99% of the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress. But there, you can't point to me one Republican congressman that's been in the news lately or that's done anything that I admire. Not a one. The Senate, I agree. Blackburn, Hawley, um, um, Ernst,
Well, yeah, all of these people that we mentioned, and there are others,
Scott,
but
Tim Scott, Tom
Tim
Cotton,
Scott, yeah,
J.D. Vance.
Marco Rubio,
Oh my
Marco
God.
Rubio,
My I have loved Marco Rubio from the first time I saw him on the cover of Time magazine, which was about 15 years ago. I love this guy. And I don't understand why he hasn't ascended to a higher position. He really he's he's a Latino version of DeSantis. He's DeSantis before DeSantis.
right?
And what unfortunately happened to him was he got caught up in the whole immigration thing because he was one of the more moderates on immigration,
Mhm.
having a
Yep,
background as a Cuban refugee. Well, his family were Cuban refugees, and
right.
and he was cut down by the real hardline Republicans who didn't want any kind of, cooperation. Happened to Arlen Specter, happened to John McCain when they also tried to do any kind of
Yeah,
reform.
but
But I
but
love Rubio.
they were more liberal than Marco Rubio. I mean,
Politically liberal,
Arlen
absolutely.
Specter was
Although not
basically a
McCain, not
liberal.
McCain. I
Not
can't imagine
McCain,
anyone
but
calling McCain a
McCain.
liberal.
Listen, I was never able to forgive McCain that he cast the vote that saved Obamacare. Okay, he cast the vote that saved Obamacare. He told the people of Arizona in his last election campaign that he would vote down Obamacare when it came up. He pledged that, and when it came up on the legislation to basically gut Obamacare. He walked into the Senate and he was the key vote and he knew it and he went like this.
I remember
No.
that. And I know a lot of people were very, very angry. And
Awful.
then he
Awful.
died shortly thereafter. But there was a
Awful.
lot of hatred for John McCain from the far right years before
Well,
that.
look at who the moderate or establishment or what I call country club Republicans gave us. I'm going to go through the list and being a Republican, I contributed to and vigorously campaigned for every one of these, every single one of them. Okay.
Hmm.
Bob Dole, he lost. Okay. George H.W. Bush, one term president. Romney, he lost. Okay. So these are the kind of people that they gave us. I'm probably missing one again and again and again. And we were told this is how they were sold to us. We were told that we couldn't be too extreme. We had to we had to put up somebody that would go along to get along, go along to get along. And the Republicans played hardball and they destroyed every one of those.
You mean the Democrats? The
McCain, I
Democrats played
forgot
hardball.
McCain. Okay, there's the other one, McCain. And they destroyed every one of those. Every one of them lost. So don't come to me. I I did not walk away from the party. I did not whine. I did not cry. I did not say, "Oh, what an awful choice. I don't think I can. I can't. I don't know who to support." No, I I not only supported the Republican nominee, I contributed and vigorously campaigned for all of them. In fact, I went to the convention that nominated Romney. Okay, and I went to another convention, but they lost.
Hmm.
And so I don't, this is why I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from these country club Republicans who clutch their pearls
I
and
agree.
grit their teeth and then have another martini and say, Oh, but you don't understand, Danny. We can't be extreme. We've got to go along to get along. No, I'm over it.
I mean, I agree on that point. And I think that, if you truly, truly feel that the candidate that your party is putting up is the best choice of, two poor choices, or even if you embrace them, what's the word I'm looking for? You should vote for that person.
We have a two
But if
party
you're in a
system.
position, see, and I know that we are in a basically there are only two parties that matter in the United States.
Right.
An independent is
It's our
not going to
system.
win.
We don't have a parliamentary system where a bunch of parties broker with one another and pick a president or prime minister from amongst themselves. That's not the way it works here.
Right. But what I'm also saying is that people should not be bullied into voting for someone simply because they have been put up by the party that they belong to, simply because they feel like they have to be a team player. If you truly, I have never, ever voted party line. When I was a Democrat for 34 years, I probably voted 85% Republican and sometimes Democrat. And when I became a Republican in 2016, I voted Republican by default because there weren't any Democrat candidates that I liked. But had I lived in the city at that time in the early days, I would have voted for Bob Brady as my congressman, because he would have covered my district where I'm living right now.
Uh huh.
I would have voted for some old line. I could have voted for Joe Manchin if I lived in West Virginia. I don't vote party. And unless unless the other person is so much more repellent than the person that my party is putting up, I will simply sit it out. And I know people say, well, then you're just electing the other person. You know what? If that's the case, that's the case. And my dad, you knew my dad. My dad fought so that people could vote. He fought for the right to vote. I've represented asylum applicants who have been beaten at the polls. I mean, literally beaten, not beaten in an election, but physically abused when
Right.
they went to vote. So it kills me. It kills me not to be able to vote for either of two bad choices. But Dan, I'm sorry. I am not in a position, unless something really happens and I get a thunderbolt from heaven and God says to me, Christine, this is the way, like Saul on his horse getting knocked off that horse on the road to Damascus. I cannot see myself right now voting for Donald Trump, definitely not voting for Joe Biden. I never would have voted for Joe Biden.
Well, would you be
Um,
tempted to vote for RFK Jr.?
No, because he's a wackadoodle. He's
Okay.
no way. I wouldn't vote for him. Um, if Trump picked Tim Scott as his VP,
Yeah.
because Trump is an old man,
Trump is only, he can only serve for 4 years.
exactly,
He
because
can
he's
only
an old
serve for four
man,
years.
and if I could be certain that we could deport Stephen Miller, like denaturalize him somehow and get him out of this country, because I think he's a horrible human being. If I could be certain that Trump will not destroy the immigration system in the United States, I could vote for him because I would be voting for Tim Scott and not Donald Trump. I am
Well,
not a fan of Donald
I
Trump.
think it's safe to say that if Trump wins, Stephen Miller is going to have some role. Now, what that role is going to
Well,
be,
then, if
I
that's the
don't
case,
know.
I'm not voting for Donald Trump, even if I despise Stephen Miller, because I worked for 4 years with this 32-year-old, poorly educated man who has no knowledge of immigration practice and law. And his impact on my practice and on the people that I know was
Mhm.
horrible. So if Stephen Miller's in there, I'm out.
All right.
I'm
Well,
out.
we'll have to see. Now let's talk before we wind up this evening, and we've been on for, I don't know, 40 plus minutes. And by the way, um, this is going to be saved, and I'm going to pin it to the top of my Facebook page. You will be
Oh,
able
cool.
to share it. You will be able to share it, and I will pin it to the top of my um, X, or formerly Twitter page, and you will be
I
able to
will.
share it there. Okay. And I'm also going to put it on my blog, dancerucci.com, where I have a petition where I'm trying to save the little gatehouse at Garden State Park. It's all that's left of the famous Garden State Park racetrack. Did your father ever go there, Christine, to Garden State Park?
I bet you he did. I don't know if my dad did, but I'm sure that my aunt and my uncle did.
Bet the
Um,
horses.
yeah, absolutely. My uncle Louis must have been there. I know he went there. Uncle Louis was big on the
Yeah.
horse racing.
There
So
was a
yeah.
time that people came over here to Cherry Hill, where I've lived for a lot of years. I'll just say a lot of years. There was a time that people came over here to misbehave. Uh,
Huh?
a lot of them came from Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania still had blue laws at that time. Okay.
And the state store
Um,
system.
the bars and all were open later here in New Jersey. And New Jersey was always a bit racier. And so they came over the bridge. They came to Cherry Hill here on the Route 70, right off the bridge. And
Hmm.
there was the Latin Casino. I
Oh
don't
my
know.
God, yeah, I
Were you
remember
ever
that.
there as a younger person, Christine, to the Latin?
I I did not go there. My aunt Teresa, oh my gosh, back in the day, she loved that place. I remember all the entertainers, Frank Sinatra, the Rat Pack. I mean, those guys, that was a great historic
All
legendary.
the greatest stars appeared there.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was like a Las Vegas showroom in
yeah,
Cherry Hill. I
yeah.
think it seated over 1,000 people
And it was before the actual casinos existed too,
before the
right?
casinos.
Yeah.
Across the street from the Latin, and we just called it the Latin. Okay. Across the street was Garden State Park, where you could go to bet on the horses during the day.
Yeah.
And then at night, you went to a show at the Latin, or you went to the Rickshaw Inn, which had a 14-karat gold plated roof. Okay.
Oh,
And was said to be run by the mob. In fact, there was a famous mob shooting right in front of the place.
oh my
Or
Lord.
you went to Sans Souci, which means in French without equal.
Without sans souci, I think it means without a care.
Is that what
That's
it is? Without a care. Okay, you're much more alert when you're
no,
French
but
than
what
I
I
am.
mean is it's like
Without a care, sans
right,
souci.
you're without a care. You can you can enjoy yourself.
And there was the Cherry Hill Inn. You could stay overnight in really, really plush surroundings. They had a room where they had dinner and dancing called the Starlight Room. You could go to the Hawaiian Cottage, where you sat indoors under palm trees. They weren't real, of course. And you pretended you were in Hawaii. Oh, we've lost you. We've lost you. Here you are again. Okay. You're back.
I'm back.
The Hawaiian Cottage. Or you could go to Sinelli's, which was famous right on Route 38. I mean, the nightlife was unbelievable. So, what I'm getting to is the only thing that's left from that era. All of these places are gone. They were all torn down and replaced by, I don't know, new car dealerships, fast food restaurants, a
Yeah.
multiplex movie theater. The only thing that's left is a little gatehouse on Route 70 that used to be the gate entrance to Garden State Park. For some reason, it's a complicated story. It's still there. And Garden State Park was built in the 1940s. So
Mhm.
this little gatehouse is like, it's really significant. It's over 80, like over 80 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've started a movement to save it. There's going to be a story in the Inquirer soon about this. I've got close to 700 signatures on petition to save this little iconic little structure.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So if people go to you on my Facebook page, on my Twitter page, on my blog, you can see a link to go sign the petition to
But why
save
is
it.
it endangered, Dan? What are they trying to do?
Oh, because the people who own the property, who had promised to keep the gatehouse, and they have, but they haven't really fixed it up. They've just kept it.
Hmm.
That property is now for sale. And we
Yes.
don't know what's going to happen when somebody new buys it. It's a prime piece of property on Route 70, and it's surrounded by big box stores and condos and hotels and all this other junk. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen when a new owner buys this. It's 10 acres of property, and the gatehouse sits on the front corner facing Route 70. And we're saying we want to get the message to whoever buys it. Please don't touch the gatehouse. You can put up whatever you want there, but leave the little, it's like the little red lighthouse under the George Washington Bridge. It's like the little engine that could.
Well,
Please leave it alone.
do you guys have any kind of, like the Historical Preservation Society? I mean, we have that here
Yeah,
in Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia Historical Association. They're not that much help.
yeah,
They we went to them to try and preserve the Columbus statue, Marconi Plaza.
yeah,
Thank God it's still there, but they were of no help whatsoever. Do you guys have
yeah,
anything like
yeah,
that where you could get a
yeah. We
designation?
do, and I've been trying to be in touch with them. I haven't had any success yet, but I will continue to be in touch with them. The
Because
one
that's
final
the way to
thing,
do it.
yeah, one final thing I wanted to touch upon, Christine, is Governor Josh Shapiro. Now, I just want to say this man is getting so much positive attention. It's almost like we should, no matter our party, our persuasion, whatever, we should get down on our knees and we should pray, oh, dear Lord, thank you for Josh Shapiro. And he's, of course, he's going to be president someday. This goes without saying. My goodness, what a talented and brilliant man. No, no, I'm not so sure about that. I think he's very, very calculating and very, very ambitious and very well handled. We talked about Donald Trump, who could not be handled and could not be packaged. Well handled and well packaged. Christine.
I cannot tell you the depth of my dislike and disdain for my governor. You can Google Christine Flowers near Josh Shapiro, and there will be popping up a number of columns that I've written over the years when he was attorney general and he got into a legal fight with cloistered nuns. I mean, he didn't sue them. He was going to force them to provide subsidized birth control for the cheapo employees of these nuns who didn't want to buy their own birth control, these cheap women who couldn't afford to buy their own pills. And they sued, and he sued them back. And he did lose, but that was, that's one thing. Went after the Catholic Church as attorney general. Never lifted a finger to go after any of the Protestant mainline churches that had pedophilia. Never went after the Boy Scouts. Never went after public schools. Nothing. Zippo. He just hates Catholics, and I've always said that. So yeah, my opinion of Josh Shapiro is that he is a fraud. But as you say, he's a very clever, crafty fraud. He is the extreme opposite of what Donald Trump is. He is packaged, he is manufactured, he is inauthentic. He is, he panders to the pro abortion crowd, panders to the pro abortion crowd. He is part of the establishment. He is very ambitious. He is obviously going to run for president at some point. He's a young man. He's like the white Obama. He's just like, he is, every single step that he has taken in his life is on this direct road to the White House. And whereas Joe Biden made a lot of mistakes on his way and it took him a lot longer and he fell off a bunch of times, Josh knows exactly what he's doing and how to get there. I do pray and I do hope that someone better, someone with a stronger moral compass, someone who's not a fraud, can supplant him, someone from the right, a good, strong conservative with good, solid values can
Hmm.
supplant him. But I'll tell you, he's going to be very difficult to beat.
I think he needs to be watched very, very closely.
We are.
All right. All right. But all these people, including people who identify themselves as conservatives and Republicans, falling all over themselves to praise him. And any he has he's very crafty at latching on to any kind of success or movement that presents him in a good light and suddenly becoming Teflon to anything that might detract from that. He and his handlers are very, very crafty at that. I mean, look at the way he sold out the school choice movement.
Yeah, I
Just,
wrote about that.
just cut the legs out from under them after promising that he was going to be that he would champion that, promising not just that he would support it, but that he was going to champion it. And then he got into office and cut the legs out from under them.
He's a politician. He is a an excellent politician, which means you cannot trust a word that comes out of his mouth. But I also just think he is a person of low character, and I've always said that.
Hmm.
And there are conservatives. I won't call them conservatives. There are Republicans. There are people who belong to the Republican Party who will defend him and who will be an allyship with him because, as you mentioned, and I love you dearly because you say it as it is. There are some institutional Republicans out there who they don't want to win. They just want to remain relevant and they just want the left to say nice things about them. They're
Yeah,
not they're not conservatives. They're not
no,
true. And that's why at some level I can understand why there are people who really do love Donald Trump because
yeah,
he put the middle finger in the face of an establishment that is afraid to ruffle the feathers of Mika and Joe Scarborough and Rachel
right,
Maddow and all of those guys. So, from that perspective, I understand the attraction.
yeah.
Um,
Well, Donald Trump is a disruptor, and I've always liked disruptors because I think disruption is healthy, and disruptors also recognize that all of these people who think they're so influential and so well connected also think they're so in control. They're so in control. And what disruptors recognize and understand, as you, Christine, as a woman of faith, know, none of us are in control of anything. Okay.
Yep.
We
Yes,
are
someone has the
we
final
are
word.
pitiful. We are pitiful humans, pitiful sinners, and we control nothing. None of
Yeah.
us knows what's going to happen uh, 1 second from now, 1 day from now, 5 days from now, a week from now, a year from now, or what the hell our fate is going to be tomorrow morning.
The old phrase, we make plans and God laughs. And
That's it.
as someone whose father, at the height of his career and his powers at the age of 43 was cut down with cancer, from diagnosis to the day of his death, it was less than a year. I have always understood that, you can make plans, you can, be organized, but ultimately you do not have control over your own life. And I think it's important for us to remember that, because if you it gives you a certain peace, it gives you this certain sense that, okay, I have to just trust that God is in control, put it in his hands,
Mhm.
because if you start worrying about every single part of your life, you'll go crazy. And I am someone, as I said to you, maybe I should be planning more, especially as I approach. I'm 62. I'm going to be 60. I'm going to be 65 pretty soon. Retirement and all that stuff. I don't think I'm going to retire, but um, I haven't made that many plans, and that's because I have no idea what's going to happen to me tomorrow. And I guess I've been this way for a long time, ever since 1982 when my dad died. But
Sure.
I think it's important to be humble in the face of destiny and basically just say, work through me, Lord, work through me. I am your vessel. Um, Let me do the best that I can, do the good that I can while I'm here. And, you know, for everything else, just try and not hurt people. Try and not do bad things. That's the best that we can hope for. We're both people of faith, Dan, and thank God that we are. Because to not have faith, to be an atheist or an agnostic, to me, that's a pretty sterile, empty life.
Well, the more I see of this world that we live in, especially now, I always say, there's got to be something better than this. There's got to be something more.
Yep,
Okay.
always. I
Um,
agree.
and I think, as you get older, you see that. But Christine, we've been at this for more than an hour. It's been wonderful. It,
I
we
missed you. We got to do
well,
this more.
we will. Well, I'm ready. I mean, anytime.
You know
But
what we should
we
do? We should just
what?
pick a regular day of the week. We could do it like definitely once a month, or in the run up to the elections, maybe once every 2 weeks. We'll we'll
Hmm.
we'll advertise it on our social media, and we'll just go for it, because we're too old. We're too old
I am old.
fighters.
You're still a baby.
I'm not. I'm not
You're
a
still,
baby.
and you look marvelous, darling. You look
Well,
marvelous.
thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank
No
you so much.
matter the age. I mean, don't even mention your age. Don't tell people
Well,
because
unfortunately, it's in my email address, so can't do anything about that.
but we will try to set a regular night and time like every other week, or at the
Yes,
very least once a month between now and the election when
I'm
we can
game for
do
every
this.
other week. And then I'm inviting you and Carol. I'm taking you out to Auto by Pulpo.
Oh, we definitely want to go. We'll have to set a date, but
We'll
we're
do it in
definitely
March.
there.
We'll do it in March.
And we'll be very fashionable, dear, on the main line.
You'll love it,
I
darling.
do so enjoy being on the main line and
Well,
dining there.
I was on the main line last night and I fell into a hole, so I wasn't that fashionable. I wasn't looking where I was going. There was like a depression, and I was like, so, so you might not want to be seen with me on the main line, actually.
I didn't know those kinds of things could happen on the main line, for
To
goodness sake.
me, they do. Yes. I went to Bryn Mawr, darling. Anything,
And
everything
I
happens to
was
me.
just around the corner at Villanova.
Yes, exactly,
We
exactly.
weren't there at the same time, but
No, but I mean, we come, we have the same roots, you know.
oh yes, we were exposed to that environment at an impressionable time in our lives, you know,
Absolutely.
to that beautiful leafy environment.
Yeah.
And that does, I mean, it is intoxicating. It does get into you. It stays with you.
I love the main line. I grew up, I literally grew up there because I went to Murray and Mercy, then I
Uh-huh.
went to Bryn Mawr College, then I went to Villanova Law School, then I taught at the Haverford School, then I taught at Villa Maria Academy. I mean,
Well,
I hit every single stop on
those
the
are
main
all pillars
line.
of the main line.
Yeah, yeah,
Did you ever
yeah.
go to the Marion Cricket Club?
I did. I did.
Uh-huh.
That's gorgeous, gorgeous
Isn't it
place.
beautiful? Drop dead gorgeous.
And it's that old line kind of Hope Montgomery Scott, the Philadelphia
Yes.
story feeling that you get there. It is. There's just that area is we are blessed to live
Yeah.
in proximity to such a historically beautiful, legendary.
Oh my God, it's legendary. We're both fans of the novels and short stories of the great John O'Hara.
Oh my God, I love him. I went to Pottsville, excuse me. I went to
Yes.
Pottsville just so I could go and take a picture next to his statue. Do you know, really quick, I know we have to go, but he immortalized Pottsville in his books about Gibbsville.
Yes.
And the characters that he met were very thinly veiled when he wrote about them, and they were really kind of like, got Butterfield 8, you've got 10 North Frederick, you've got From the Terrace, you've got all those short stories, The Rage to Live. I love his stuff, but they were very angry with him. Do you know that that statue of John O'Hara that is there has
Mhm.
only been there for about 20 years? I mean, the man's been dead for over a half a century, and they fought. They did not want, they waited until most of the people that he wrote about were dead, and then they erected the statue.
All of these great novelists. I mean, Philip Roth. I read the
Yeah.
big new biography that's out about him, and just amazing. But he lost a lot of friends because he based the characters on these people and actually, quoted from actual conversations that he had with them. Of course, he changed the names and all and made things a little bit different. But I mean, where do you think people get their ideas for their stories? You write about what you know.
Well, have you been watching the FX series Capote versus the Swans?
I
About
put
true.
it on, but it was on my TV. It was letterboxed.
Oh,
It
that's
was
a
letterboxed. Do you
it's
know what I mean?
yeah, that's a
And
shame.
I didn't like it that way. I didn't want to watch it that way. I saw one episode. It looks fabulous.
Maybe there's a way that you could get it out of that format. It is fabulous. It's got 8 episodes. Last night was the sixth episode. It's on every Wednesday night, but it's exactly what you're talking about. Capote wrote about the women that he was very close to, Babe Paley and Lee Radziwill and Slim Keith.
And they turned on
Um,
him.
and they turned on him because he turned on them by writing about them, but like writing about things that they had confessed to him in secret,
Yeah.
about husbands, cheating on wives and dominatrixes and stuff like that. And you do feel bad for him in this show. You see, I don't think he ever anticipated that they would react the way that they did.
Is that what
um,
they call it? Romano Clef? Romana Clef? How do you
yeah.
say that?
Yeah, Romana. I think it is Romana Clef. I would say Romana Clay, but yeah, Romana. And there were, I mean, it's sad because he spiraled into alcoholism and drug abuse because he was cut off from these women. The only ones, there are two of them that stayed friends. That was CZ Guest and Joanna Carson, Johnny Carson's ex-wife,
Oh yeah, Joanna.
and they're the actresses who play them. I mean, it's amazing. You've got Diane Lane is Slim Keith. You've got Naomi Watts is Babe Paley. You've got Callista Flockhart is Lee Radziwill. You've got Molly Ringwald is Joanna Carson. Demi Moore is Ann Wentworth, who's somebody who committed
Wow.
suicide. You've got Chloe Savigny, who's brilliant as CZ Guest. You've got the late great Treat Williams played Bill Paley, head of
I saw
CBS.
that. Yeah.
Um,
No
the,
Paley. Yeah.
and the guy who plays Tom Holland, I think is his name, British actor. He is so brilliant. He makes you almost forget Philip Seymour Hoffman, who got the Oscar for playing Capote in the movie version of.
Yes, I saw it. Fantastic.
He's
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah.
Well, I've been binging on Succession.
Oh, I love that show. I watched it, real time. Loved it. Love Brian Cox. I have such a crush on Brian Cox.
Well, I really
Oh,
like Jeremy Strong, who plays Kendall.
yes. Oh my God. He's brilliant. I love the guy. I love
Oh,
Culkin.
I know
Kieran
Roman.
Culkin.
Oh,
He
who?
plays Roman.
Roman.
Yeah. I love
That's
him.
Culkin.
Yeah. And the
Karen
guy who
Culkin.
plays Matthew McFadden, who plays what's his name? Tom. You would never
Tom.
know that the guy's British. Perfect American accent. Just like Sarah Snook, who plays Siobhan.
Yes.
She's Australian and she's
Yes.
brilliant. I mean, but
Yeah.
Brian Cox, he's just like such a sexy older man. I love it.
Well, I'm into the season 5, or I'm almost going into the final season.
Yeah.
So
The last season is brilliant. They're all
okay.
brilliant.
Well, don't
It's
tell
very
me.
well done.
Don't tell
No,
me anything.
my lips
Okay.
are sealed.
But I'm totally, totally into it. Well, Christine, we're going to have to say good night. It's been wonderful. This is going to be put up, like I say, permanently, so anybody can watch it at any time. So even
Yeah.
though if you're, please share it from your
As soon as you put it
social
up, I'm
media.
sharing it on my page.
Okay, good. And then we'll be talking about our live get-togethers and more sessions here. Okay.
Exactly. Lots of rendezvous in 2024.
Oh, I hope so. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, good. I love you. Miss you. Give my love to your gorgeous wife, who I
Thank you.
adore,
Well,
and
thank you.
your
I adore her
adorable little
too.
tribe of grandkids. And we'll be in touch.
Okay, good. Good night.
Night night.
Bye.